Hey guys, Joe with Joe's Shrimp Shack. I'm sitting with Brian Dahlberg with Aquatic Support Systems. We're going to do a little tour of his place and do a little interview. Now, keep in mind I'm not really good at interviews, so it's going to be kind of winging it back and forth. So Brian, why don't you tell us about yourself?
So my name's Brian Dahlberg. I run a company called Aquatic Support Systems, and I have a YouTube channel called Brian's Fish Tanks that you may or may not be familiar with. I've been in the hobby close to 30 years. Started when I was in college back in 1989, and just kind of grew from there. I do large cichlids like you see behind me, all the way down to little shrimp, dwarf shrimp like what Joe keeps, and just kind of enjoy doing a wide variety of stuff. I do some saltwater as well. Maybe we'll see the saltwater tanks in the tour later, but that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
So what are some of the products that you carry for Aquatic Support Systems?
So I carry fish foods and shrimp foods. So for like the fish foods, I carry my main flagship brand is Southern Delight. It's a wide variety line with I think it's 11 different flavors or formulas. Carry some North Fins, some New Life Spectrum, and then with the shrimp, I carry Glass Garden, Shrimp King, some Low Keys, some SL Aqua, things like that. Mostly foods, some remineralizer like salty shrimp, stuff like that too. So yeah, that's kind of the main stuff I carry.
Great, and I'll have all the links on the bottom of the tutorial on here as well. What is some stuff that, let's say, a new hobbyist that gets into this might make some mistakes? What are some mistakes?
Not being patient enough, that's the main thing. You gotta let your tank cycle. If you're new to the hobby, you need to know about the nitrogen cycle, whether it's fish or shrimp. You gotta be able to let your tank cycle and be patient, not add fish too, quickly. When you need to do your research and know what you're getting into as far as what your water parameters are gonna be for the specific species that you're carrying. So those are the two main things I would recommend.
Okay. And let's say someone wants to get into cichlids. What is some common cichlids that a new person getting into cichlids might want to carry?
So common stuff, you got your Oscar. Everyone sees Oscars at PetSmart. But if you're talking South or Central American cichlid, most of them get to be big. Maybe not as big as this guy behind me, but an Oscar can easily get 15 or more inches. So when you're buying like a common Oscar or something real common, even, you need to know how big it's going to get and have the correct tank size, according to what the fish is going to grow to. So, that's kind of the major concern with getting into the cichlid hobby. If you're going African cichlids, then you need to know what are going to get along with each other and be able to have kind of a tank where there's going to be harmony, and you don't need as big of a tank because they don't get as big, but you just need to, again, like I said before, do your research and know what you're getting into.
And you said you were into shrimp and everything else, and I know there's two different types of shrimp. You got the neocaradinas and you have the caridinas as well.
Yep.
A lot of hobbyists that I have found, they tend to veer away from the caridinas because they think it's harder to raise the caridinas. What is your aspects between the caridinas and neocaradinas for someone getting into it? Which one would be easier for them?
Everyone thinks that neos are easier because cherry shrimp are like a common shrimp that you see everywhere. But for me, I've had better luck and more success with caridina. Even straight out of the gate, I started with some cherries, neocaridina, and then not long after I had success with those, I went to crystal reds, and then I really started growing out a lot of different caridina species. So as long as you're using a buffering substrate and paying attention to your water parameters, caridinas can be just as easy, if not easier, than neocaradinas, in my opinion.
Great. So I always wondered, how many gallons do you roughly know that you have here at your shop?
I think it's right around 2,000. I got a 300 gallon, two 210s, so that's 700 right there. 3 180s, so that's roughly 540? Yeah, so right around 2,000, and then I got like 15 gallon shrimp tanks, 125, 475s. So yeah, right around 2,000.
So how long does it take you on average to do a water change with all your systems?
I've never done everything in one day, but if I keep the shrimp out of the mix and just do the fish, it takes a good part of a day solid. If I do the gravel vacs and clean the sponge filters on every single tank, it takes obviously a lot longer than if I just do a water change. But on most of these tanks, I do 50% water changes because they're big cichlids and they're dirty. I would say 6 hours total if I were to do it nonstop. Maybe a little bit longer, but that's kind of roughly, yeah.
It's a lot of water changes.
But a lot of times I space it out over start Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and finally done.
So ideally, that's what a hobbyist should do if he has multiple tanks: is split it down to multiple days so he doesn't get overwhelmed.
That's a good idea. So there's a couple other tricks. Some people will do a manifold with 4 or 6 different hose lines coming off it, and so then you could run a heavy pump, drain 4 to 6 tanks at a time, and then fill them back up. That can help in a big situation like this, but otherwise I would split it up over several days unless you got a big chunk of time and you enjoy sitting in your fish room doing water changes,
So what is some key things that a hobbyist should have in his arsenal for having multiple tanks?
A lot of nets, but as far as preventing problems and stuff like that, you're going to want to have a big supply of some sort of dechlorinator. I use Seachem Safe for the most part. It's a powdered version of Prime, basically. You're going to want to have hoses and pumps. What I do is I run a Python attachment to my laundry tub over there, but I use a 1.5-inch hose so that I can get more water flow through it. And I'll use a 1,200 gallon per hour pump to drain. At the same time, I can be filling up another tank. Basic medications you're going to have on hand. You're going to want to have tank space. If you don't have a quarantine tank, you'll want to at least be able to know that you can move some fish out of a tank if you have a sick fish that you need to quarantine. Maybe the same species put into a tank together in order to free up space. I like to have dividers too, because sometimes the males and females like to fight when one might not breed, so I always have those on hand so that you can separate fish that are fighting. Kind of the basics.
So is there anything that you want to tell the viewers prior to me signing off and doing the tour here? Any words of advice to them?
Like I said at the beginning, patience is the major thing. Research and patience. I mean, you have to let time take its course in whether you're setting up a fish tank or a shrimp tank or a reef aquarium. There's just certain things that take time. You need to let the tank cycle. You need to know about the nitrogen cycle, and then you just need to do your research. You need to be able to know how you can provide the best home. I mean, these things are living in glass boxes, and they're not in the wild, so you need to be able to provide them with the correct water parameters so that they can thrive and survive and hopefully breed if that's what you want to do. So those are the main pieces of advice I'd give.
Great. So if someone needs to get a hold of you, how do we get a hold of you? Do you want to plug your websites and stuff?
Yeah, so you can go to aquaticsupportsystems.com, and in the contact section, my email will be there. It's just brian@aquaticsupportsystems.com. My YouTube channel is Brian's Fish Tanks. You can look for that, subscribe, you can leave comments on there. And then I'm on Facebook. There's my personal page, there's a Brian's Fish Tanks page, and there's an Aquatic Support Systems page. Same with Instagram. I got a personal page and an Aquatic Support Systems page. So a lot of ways to get a hold of me, a lot of ways to check out what I got going on and look at my fish and my shrimp and that type of stuff. So
okay, well thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed the tour.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So you're looking at here is my wild-caught umbi pair. The scientific name is Chronoheros umbriferum. This guy's kind of the mascot of the fish room. His name's Magnus, and his female over in the far corner, his name is Beast. These are wild-caught. A friend of mine grew them out, and then he got out of the hobby, so I kind of took them over. He is kind of or at least one point was I guess, mascot for the company Aquatic Support Systems. You can see on the banner below, there's a picture of them. So these are Amphilophus retislatus. It's a female and male. The big one with the hump on his head is the male. And then there's a couple other fish in there, the Saboldi, the smaller ones in there. But this guy, he's a good 5 years old, and they're a fun pair to have. That's the Saboldi that you're zooming in on there, one of them, a couple of them. So these are another Umbi pair. They're F1s. The male that you're looking at right now is actually the son of Magnus and Beast, the pair that you were filming earlier. And then his female is in the flower pot. They're getting ready to spawn. I can tell just by the behavior that they've been showing lately. That's just a silver arowana that I picked up as a rescue. It's got drop eye in both eyes, so it's nothing special, but it's still a fun fish to have. And then the fish that you're zooming in on there, that's a Rio Blanco Motaguens from Sean Hayden. And then there's a small Midas grow out in there too, the orange one. And a bunch of clown loaches and big common pleco that's getting a little bit torn up. So these are my Feste pair. You're looking at the bigger one's the male, and the one with the more orange and the stripes is the female. And then there's 4 red hook silver dollars in there that are starting to get pretty big. Just kind of use them as dithers to help them to spawn. And that's Amphilophus trimaculatus, or trimac. There's a female in there somewhere, but she's been hiding quite a bit. You're looking at the male right now. He's been picking on her because he's getting a little frisky and wants to spawn, so he's picking on her, and she's probably back in the flower pot or something. So this guy's a flower horn. It's a King Kampfa 9.9 flower horn. I've had him for about 4 or 5 years, and he's getting to be quite a colorful beast. Just kind of a wet pet. Little female in there with him.
Look at all your Brightwell products.
Yeah, I'm testing out that stuff a little bit. Trying to see what I think of it. That's Amphilophus citronellus that you're looking at, or common name Midas cichlid. There's a pair in there, male and female. He's got some pretty cool orange and white creamsicle color. Pretty sought after fish. People contact me all the time wanting to buy this fish off of me. Him and his brother upstairs. That's another Rio Blanco Mota. It's a male that's about 12 inches. He killed his wife probably over a year ago now, and I've just been kind of letting him live out his life alone. That's another Trimac pair that I've got. They spawn for me about every 3 weeks. They're a little bit younger than the other, but good fish. So these are some fry or throw-outs from the Midas pair that you filmed a minute ago. I'm just kind of growing them out for myself to kind of see what the next generation looks like. And some of them are starting to kind of turn into color, black and orangish, peeling. They're probably, what does the date on there say? About a year old now. So that's another Midas pair. That guy, his name's Cheeto, and he's probably my most sought after fish. People are offering me constantly tons of money to buy him. It's just one of those deals where he's not for sale. Pretty nice looking specimen when it comes to a piebald or creamsicle Midas cichlid. And then of course his female's in there too. She's not half bad looking either. So this is what is it, a 29-gallon BioQ Coral Life with mostly soft corals in it, and then just some nano fish, a couple clowns, Royal Grama, firefish, and then big frog spawn colonies, some hammers, a couple smaller frog spawns, and a bunch of zoas. Most everything I got at New Wave Aquaria. So this is my 90-gallon planted high-tech tank where I've got some cardinal tetras and then a few hundred cherry shrimp in there. Pretty simple with just Erio Vietnam, AR Mini, some Physidins, and then Monte Carlo Carpidine.